Welcome to Million Dollar Dentistry with your host, Gary Cady, brought to you by Next Level Practice. Next Level Practice is the leader in dental practice management. In fact, they are the best in the world at creating happy teams that implement sustainable results. Your host, Gary Cady, welcomes you to this podcast as he discusses the common concerns, challenges, and shares his decades of experience in empowering dentists and dental teams to go from good to world class. Gary Cady is the visionary voice of Next Level Practice and has for the past 20 years interrupted the status quo of the dental world. He continues to bring national attention to the oral systemic connection and believes in the complete health dentistry model. He is a powerful educator and advocate for dentistry, dentist, and dental teams. He is inspired every day by the courage and personal successes of the doctors and team members he has the privilege of working with. Welcome, Gary.
Oh, Amber, we're back.
We
What's
are.
up, Amber? You ready to rock it out? One of my favorite chapters here, chapter 4. Uh-oh.
So, what you really should be doing with your hygienist. What did you mean by that?
Oh my gosh. Look, here's the deal. No, no, my wife said, as I had mentioned last time, my wife said, you better not name that. People are going to be offended. And I don't know, I just had many of my doctors who ended up with their dental hygienist. So I can't make this stuff up. I just pay attention. So anyway, we'll leave all that other stuff out, but it's really honoring. I'll tell you, hygienist really changed my life. I really, all kidding aside, the work that we have here, I really learned that hygiene is really the catalyst and the center of a great general practice. And most of them are not running at full efficiency. And, there's a lot of amazing hygienists, and there's a lot of hygienists who just they're good with polishing teeth. So it's like this big range of components to a great hygiene department, a great hygienist. And, there's different philosophies, and none are bad or wrong. It's just that, are they working or are they not working? And, what's the philosophy of the practice? And how does the dentist relate to the hygienist? So often the dentists go soft tissue. They don't even think, what the heck is that? They just the kicking it old school dentist is like, hey, I just want to do restorative care or implants or, cosmetics or whatever. And, care less about soft tissue, but there's a big deal with all the science, in my documentary that I filmed much after this first edition of Million Dollar Dentistry. Here's where hygienists changed my life. I went into a hygiene meeting and I was doing typical systems processes. We do the four P's: purpose, people, process, and platforms. And I'm in there and I'm doing that work. And, my dad had a heart attack the night before. He survived quintuple bypass. He now has 8 stents. When he always said, go to the dentist, Amber, over and over. He said, make sure you go to the dentist. And he always took me every 6 months. But the dentist didn't have a hygienist and polished his teeth. They did not clean below the gum line. My dad, had the heart attack, and these hygienists go, well, how was your dad's perio? And they go, what are you asking that for? My dad had a heart attack. He goes, don't you know the connection? And those hygienists changed my life, because I got obsessed about learning about the oral systemic connection and its impact on whole body health and really extending lives. And now we have, my dad's hanging on by a stint, but it's 20 years. He's, out of, his indentures. But, ultimately it was a lesson learned. And now I just want to help people save and extend lives. Like we say now in the hygiene department, on a good day, we save a smile, and on a great day, we save a life. And when you start moving into, the next generation of hygiene, I mean, we have hygienists doing more than associates. I mean, we have hygienists doing two grand now, all legitimate, all customer service. They're using things like PeriProtect, which puts the power of, managing inflammation in the hands of a hygienist. I mean, that's unheard of. That is unheard of. And I was able to put all these pieces and parts together after we got started. So it's a big deal, and it's the machine that runs the whole practice. So ask me questions.
Okay.
I can go on forever, but I know you have an agenda here to make sure I really take a deeper dive at what's in the book.
Okay, so the hygienist should be empowered to recognize problems, educate patients about the nature of those problems, point out those problems to the dentist when he or she comes into the hygiene room to visit with the patient. So what are we saying here? That the hygienist is not supposed to just be polishing. They're supposed to be really, truly educating, it sounds to me like here.
Well, yeah, like a lot of people have accelerated hygiene, and the old school way of looking at a hygiene department, in my opinion, you can still have accelerated hygiene, but you got to have your education in. What is the purpose of a hygienist, and what is the purpose of your hygiene department? A lot of times doctors are just trying to churn, some doctors try to churn cash. So they're going, if I pay this hygienist, I don't know, $30, $40, I need to get as much as revenue as I can through there. So they double them up and put an assistant in there, churn and burn. Not a bad thing, but they miss the other part that hygiene is used for. It's also the patient education engine. And the reason why this is important is because you should always have 1 doctor to 2 hygiene. It should be that ratio. That means you're retaining your patients. That means that every hour you got to do a hygiene check, and you got to do 2 of them. So if you can't get in and out of there, and the hygienist doesn't take his or her time to get that set up, what happens is you're now spending 20 minutes at each of those hygiene checks. That's 40 minutes, and you only have 20 minutes back at your chair. Versus the hygienist does all the education because they're more trusted than you. Dentists, patients think you're trying to buy your next portion, your mouth. And what happens is they think that when you make a recommendation, it's for you, not for them. But when it's originated by the hygienist, using all the things that we talked about in the earlier chapters, like a healthy mouth baseline and intraoral cameras, and then you just walk in, it's like a ball teed up like on a golf tee, and you just come in with the driver and give that guy a thwap, and you're just hitting it right down the middle of the fairway. So it's like having a caddy, who actually tees you up, sets you up, lets you know what's going on with which way the wind's blowing with that patient, and which club to use. So giving the power away to the hygienist, letting them manage that room, having them take the time, because you don't have it. You got to get back to that chair. Your job is to call balls and strikes, balls and strikes, balls and strikes. Yes, validate your hygienist, validate your hygienist. That's the way you should come in. 5 minutes each, kiss babies, hug babies, kiss babies, get on your way. Next person, boom, 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 get back to the chair, and you're on your way.
Aha. So how much time should the hygienist have with each patient? Because I've seen offices where it's like 30 minutes, 45 tops. But you are suggesting a full hour. How is that going to be profitable if you're cutting in half the amount of people that someone can see? If they were doing 30 minutes, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to figure out how that works.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. First of all, you got to know, are you a quality, service, and price? Are you just churning and burning, polishing, or are you a quality and service position, which most private practitioners need to be a quality and service position, because the DSOs, the lower end practices, the drill, fill, and bill PPO mills, those people are the ones that, those are the ones, they're accelerated hygiene or doing half hours, and that's fine. They can do that, but you create experiences. You're offering an experience. Now, here's how it's affordable, because you can't outrun restorative care. And if you look at your hygiene department as the machine that makes the practice run, and you look at your patient, annual value of a patient is 2 prophies, 2 exams, set of bite wings, and the average adult will invest in a crown and a buildup. Now, if you're just looking at your hygiene department solely on hygiene revenue, you're only going to get so far. But if you look at it as hygiene revenue plus the restorative care that comes out of hygiene, Amber, now all of a sudden, let's just say the average annual value of an adult, 2 prophies, 2 exams, set of bite wings, crown and buildup is $1,300. They come in twice, that's $650 for each hygiene visit. Because, and guess what? You don't have to do any selling, manipulation. You don't have to close the case. You don't have to touch it. You're just going, yep, that needs a crown. Yep, great job, Brittany, for finding that, showing me the pictures. Yep, well done. And then you get out of there, and all of a sudden you have the machine built that will allow you to grow your practice and get your patients healthy and taken care of. So it's a win-win-win all the way around. And then we bonus the hygienist on the treatment that comes out of their room. And then we bonus the treatment coordinator on the cases that they get closed. And that's how you change the behaviors, get consistent behaviors, and really run a highly profitable practice, not just a highly profitable hygiene department.
Okay, so that I like that, because while we're not suggesting that the hygienist diagnose, we're teaching them to educate. And once you need an hour to do that, because I know if I feel rushed in the hygiene chair, I'm not going to be inclined to actually purchase care. So, and if they're actually introducing that healthy mouth baseline to the patients,
It's 67-33. 67% you're diagnosing, you're doing your hygiene treatment. 33% of the time you're doing your patient education. So if that's an hour, 20% of the time is spent doing education. There's no other place to find that, because if it's not done in the hygiene chair, it's going to have to be done in the doctor's chair, or you're not going to grow your practice because it's not done anywhere and it's not done efficiently. But when you do it while they're there, patients have no time to come back. Back in the day when I first started, even 2008, they would, like, if there's a big treatment plan, you can have them come back. We find that even throws people off. So it's better if you have a big treatment plan to get them started, not every time. Sometimes, and it depends on your philosophy and if they're used to it, but it's really good to just get something started and then do a whole treatment plan when they come back. This way, you get them in the hopper and you get them moving. So, again, this is advanced conversation that we're having right now, but in general, you need a space to be able to present and get cases closed, and the best place to do that, and the fastest way and the most leveraged way is in that hygiene department.
Okay, so you mentioned a little bit about the triple win. So how do you bonus the hygienist with the triple win, and how do you make sure that the hygienist and the doctor are out of the sales business so they're not selling dentistry?
Well, it all goes back to what is the purpose of the business. And, one of the things that we set up a practice to buy into is, we're here, like, I'll give you an example, like the meaningful purpose of the business. If you treat your business like a breathing entity, what is the purpose behind it? And, one could be, on a good day, we save a smile, and on a great day, we save a life. Another could be, San Diego is going to be the healthiest city in all of America. Right now it's number 10. We're playing for number 1. So they have a mission behind. So the context that holds the patient education together has a bigger purpose, a more meaningful purpose that everybody buys into. Another one could be, we are the go-to practice in, let's just say, Boston, Massachusetts, to look better, feel better, and be healthier. So when you have the context that drives the education, that fits inside of the education, I want to distinguish context here for our listeners. If I gave you a glass with water in it, the context would be the glass, and then the water would be the content. The context gives meaning and action to what to do with the water. So then you drink the water because it's in a cup, meant for drinking, boom. But if I gave you a bathtub with water in it, you're not drinking that. The context
No.
says, and you better not.
Exactly. I'm like, no.
Especially after I get a workout and I take a bath, and then you show up and you're like, I'm not drinking that water.
Definitely not.
Especially in today's world, with all the things going on with germs and stuff, you don't want to be doing that. So, but it gives you action. And so most doctors, the reason why they don't have sustainable outcome is because they don't have their practice set up as a mission-based practice. This is the other reason why they don't attract good team members. This is the other reason why millennials don't want to work there, because they don't like selling widgets without a purpose. These are all the things that are going on behind the scenes that need to be addressed. And it's all in the concept of context versus content, right? So you want to bonus them. So that takes the sales away. So it's sort of like what you said about hope and despair. Like, I can look at one thing as despair, or I can look at it as hope. It depends on where I'm looking from. That's the context. Same is true here. You could look at this as, oh, you're selling, or I'm truly, authentically, if my heart is coming from help, and then I share with you a healthy mouth baseline, intro pictures, good verbal skills and communication, the person responds differently, very, very differently. And they feel that you're authentically there because you care. It's the difference between caring and taking from somebody. Like, if my context is I'm here to help people, then you're going to feel that. Like, and I am, that. that's why I do write books and do podcasts, and because I want to help more people. And when they get what I'm saying and they want it implemented, they're going to come find me. I don't have to hard sell this thing. It's you. Do you have a problem? Do you align with the philosophy? Do you want it handled the way I'm suggesting it? And if it makes sense to you, then you're going to be all over it. So, how do you get the triple win? Well, the patient has to win. And if they don't understand, so we never sell dentistry that's not needed or wanted. They get in there, Amber, and we find out what's, here's the healthy mouth baseline. We are here to let you know what's going to happen. It's the least expensive, the least intrusive. We're looking to, be conservative with you, like the tread on the tire, so it doesn't become, a root canal, or it doesn't become whatever the truth is. If we keep watching it, like having a Timex factory, you're watching the health get worse, right? What are we watching? Let's not watch it. Let's take care of it when it looks like it's needed, and you get to say that. So the patient wins, number one. The team wins, and the hygienist in this case, the way we incentivize everybody is we give them the incentive on what we need them to do. There's two things that we need a hygienist to do. Increase their dollar production per day, so equal to or greater than. And the way you do that is you get them to do treatment that's correlate with the purpose behind the work. So I ask a hygienist, never selling. So what is your purpose? To get people healthy and well? Great. Then we say use the intraoral camera, use the healthy mouth baseline. Here's some solutions like PerioProtect. That's an investment of $750, but I can't live without my PerioProtect. It was part of my inflammatory markers going dramatically down. I'm alleviating my heart attack and stroke potential and my dementia potential like my parents have. And $750 is cheap for me. And I feel like a bazillionaire, and it gets rid of halitosis, and it whitens my teeth. Look how white my teeth are. Like, it's like bling,
Perfect.
So,
Yeah.
right? So the thing about this is that where are you coming from? And then who are you helping? And is it genuine or not? I mean, that's really the bottom line. And then, we bonus hygienists in two ways, like I mentioned. One is increasing their dollar per day, which we figured out. And the way they do that is they do, advanced perio. By the way, we have 8 million treatment plans in our database because we track all the treatment plans, and only 4% accept treatment for perio, and 8% are diagnosed.
Wow.
And 50% have it in the US of adults. So you don't have to be searching for patients to care for if you set the benchmark of 0 bleeding in your practice, right? Because if there's some bleeding, there's some infection and some bacteria present that is affecting that, right? So when you come from that place, increasing your daily production through doing the treatment, that's really right. I can't tell you how many times I see people charging for prophies and they're doing debridements or they're doing perioscaling. It's just crazy. And because it goes back to deserve level. So can you see how deserve level like cascades all the way down here, right? And then the other one is the treatment presented and accepted out of the hygiene room. So we give them a percentage for that. So we give them 10% above what their benchmark per day is. So if their benchmark was 1,000, they did 2, the difference is 1,000, they get 10%, they get $100 for that. And then, if they presented $5,000 of treatment that came out and 3,500 was accepted, well, that becomes $35 in their pocket for diagnosing and helping the patient understand what the treatment is. So it's a win-win all the way around, and doctors can't wait to spend this bonus money. Now, they only pay it out if the collections that covers the bonus that we estimate will cover the bonus is paid out. So that's how the triple win gets affected. The patient gets all the care they need. The team member grows personally, professionally, and financially on the specific area that they're accountable for. And then the doctor practice owner wins because they only have to pay it out if they can afford to pay it out when the collections come in for that month.
Perfect. Okay. So you talk about a recare coordinator comes in 10 hours a week and makes calls. So what you're saying is that there should be a designated person doing recare as opposed to the hygienist running around trying to be up in the front making phone calls?
Yeah, like, look, I don't think, and I take out the trash in my own company. I don't think anybody's below that, but I would rather take responsibility for filling in the schedule for the for what the people were hired to do. And hygienists were not telemarketers, or they don't run our system, which is a platform that communicates with patients the way they want to be communicated to, like texting and through patient education. So, yes, they can help out, but it should be spot help, not regular help. And it's because the number one reason is because you don't have a whole body health or a complete health hygiene patient education system. They don't understand the value. That's the source of this problem. Once we get the source of the problem and you get your patient education in, then the symptom of filling in comes from a recare coordinator. Here's the problem. Most doctors go get on the phone with people. You can't outbound call, and especially if you only have one person at the front desk, you got to have a treatment coordinator or an appointment coordinator. If your practice is rolling, this person doesn't have the time to outbound call because they're reacting to new patient call-ins. They're checking people in and checking people out. It's impossible to concentrate and do that job well. So here's what we've decided to do is get a third-party person part-time, somebody who's really passionate about helping people get back into the practice. And it's not just phone calls, it's phone calls, texting, and it's also how you leave messages. How you leave a messages. This is Gary calling from Dr. Rosenfinger's practice. We are
Did you just say Dr. Rosenfinger?
Yeah, I just make this stuff up. But actually, a friend of mine, Ron, taught me about Dr. Rosenfinger, which cracks me up, so I still use it without royalties. He gave me permission to do that without royalties. But yeah, Dr. Rosenfinger's office, and we're calling regarding your health. Please give us a call. Call regarding your health is going to get a call back. What do you mean about my health? What's wrong with my health? Like, what do you mean? And like, you put mystery in. And so for those of you that are not getting calls back, oh, Joe Blow called because of her health. And then you have the script that says, yeah, we haven't seen you in a while. And do you know that that your mouth is connected to your body? And if you don't take care of your hygiene, if your gums bleed, it can affect your overall body. And so that's why we're in the healthcare business, preventive healthcare business. And that's why we care, and we wanted to invite you in for your appointment. What works for you today I happen to have an opportunity show up at 4 o'clock, or would tomorrow at 6 o'clock be good for you?
Perfect. Okay. So the appointment coordinator makes sure that the hygienist time is always used to the maximum then.
Right. So the appointment coordinator is filling it. And then if something opens up, they're looking to fill one or two. But if a whole so often doctors aren't looking. If you had, let's say, I see this happen all the time. Somebody's out sick for an extended period, or you have a temp hygienist who's not doing pre-appoints or reappoints. What happens is, we like to get 90% pre-appoints before the patient leaves. If you have a lull on that, like it goes down to 50 and 60, we're tracking these upstream indicators, because here's what happens, Amber. 6 months downstream, if you're not getting your data pushed to you, the person that was dealing with your recare during that period of time, let's say your front office was out and they weren't double checking that you were getting everybody scheduled, 6 months from now, you're going to have a huge dip in your hygiene. And that's what the recare coordinator is to do. The appointment coordinator gets that like one or two that can't get filled, and maybe the recare coordinator fills same day stuff if they can, but they're making sure that every hygiene day is filled out weeks and weeks in advance. So, and not only phone calls and texting, but we have a whole platform that it's called My Patient Care System that actually does it via a platform and through patient education. So we're sending automated newsletters out. We're sending out, stuff for bad breath and pregnancy and whole body health. So the patient's getting educated as to why they need to come in, and it's not about polishing teeth.
See, and I like that idea, because I feel like so much of the time when you go to the dental office that, sometimes they'll even forget to make your appointment before you leave. So, or they're busy and or you're trying to rush out of there and I'll say, oh, I'll call back, but you don't call back. And then you get off the schedule and you forget what you're doing.
We're tracking two key things here. How many people leave with an appointment, and then how many people break and cancel appointments. And that becomes the front desk. And by the way, they can click on our dashboard and they can know what patients to call immediately, because that's most appointment coordinators don't know who to call, and we automate that system. Very powerful.
Definitely. So kind of like recapping here. So one of the things you want your hygienist to have a full hour to do their work and to do the patient education.
Yep.
Okay. Then you get to come in for 5 minutes and confirm the case.
Yep.
Then your hygienist turns over the patient to the treatment coordinator. And what happens with the treatment coordinator at that point?
The treatment coordinator then sits down and they go over the patient. They say, do you understand your treatment, and do you understand you need your treatment now? As if they say yes and yes, great. Then you can say, what's next is I'd like to go over the financial arrangements so that we can fit this treatment into your lifestyle. So if they don't say yes and yes, then they don't know they need that treatment, and you got to start all over. And that's why we use intraoral pictures in the treatment room, so that it's a private room. There's the intraoral pictures, and we re-highlight the problem. So we go back over why they recommended what they recommended, because so often, doctors and hygienists in the back, they'll say something because the person heard it for the first time. They didn't really understand it. They said yes, they didn't understand, and they were going to do what I call the walk down the hallway of amnesia. So they walk from the back to the front, they get amnesia, and they don't know what you talked about. So it eliminates that, and it eliminates what I call the 6-month boogie. So they say, what they do is they go, hey man, I'm gonna come in and say yes, mean no, and walk out, and then know I got out of this mess without having to do any treatment, because I didn't have to commit to anything, because I just went to amnesia.
Right.
And we eliminate that.
And then 6 months later, you have to start over again, and that problem's probably worse by that point.
Exactly. And then what happens is your revenue is worse, because that could have been done in the 6 months prior, and then you're complaining why you don't have enough money. It's because all these bleeding points in a practice are not tended to, and we just lock all these down. And then, once in a while they slip through, but not on an ongoing basis.
Okay. So one of the things that the dentist gets to do is perform the dentistry, knowing that everybody else in the office is perhaps even more dedicated to keep them working.
Say that again.
So one of the things that if you put this into place, it's going to allow the dentist to perform the dentistry, knowing that everybody else in the office is perhaps even more dedicated to keeping them working than even they are themselves.
Well, it basically decentralizes the doctor of having to hold on and make sure everything gets done. It decentralizes it, puts it into the hands of the people that are responsible. But for the control freaks out there, they still maintain control. So how do you maintain control with letting go? You let go with responsibility, measures and metrics, putting a bonus system in, and then showing people not just what to do, but how to do it, Amber. So many consultants, people come to me, they go, yeah, the consultant, he told me what to do, but not how to do it. We're giving you the how-to. That's the key.
Okay. So this can do even $500,000 a year if you get this bottom line fixed.
Are you kidding me? We just broke a record. When we have a dentist in one doctor who was working 6 days a week. She was doing $1 million. She did 1.1 a year later, and went down to 3 days and replaced herself. That's just a record breaker. That's somebody who just broke a record.
Wow.
Does everybody do that? No, but yes, you can absolutely, because here's why. It's all inside your practice already. It's all because you're just restoring your integrity for what you stand for, and then having a process to go behind it and a purpose behind it that is authentic and transparent and here to serve somebody else. And when you clean all this stuff up, what made this gal successful is because she just did all of it. So our doctors do some of it, they do half of it, a quarter of it. She took it on, and she said, because she had an 8-year-old daughter, she had a reason to do it. She was like, I need to be home for my daughter, and I want to be able to make money and pay my bills. I'm sick and tired of not being able to pay my bills on time. So she just got to it, and she just followed the system to the T, and that's what happened. And we see this all, this is not the first time. It maybe that's a big degree to go from 6 days full time to 3, and then going up, doubling your practice. It's not unheard of. But to do less than that happens all the time, every day.
See, and that's to me, it seems really important for the office to get in alignment with their purpose, having the right people in the right places, getting those processes right in that platform. Is that true? Yeah.
Yeah, it all works in harmony. See, here's what we've done. DSOs are killing it because they can come into a GP practice that's underperforming and put their systems in and get it to where, get it to pay for itself. We just do that for the private practitioner. And we automate we do everything, the 4 things that they do. Well, they don't put purpose in. The DSOs can't retain their team because they don't treat people with care. And that's the downfall of that. So, we put that piece in, and that's why we retain team members as well. But, purpose, number 1, people, number 2, right people, right places, right things. Process, there's only 3: case acceptance, retention, and the experience and acquisition of new patients. And then we put platforms under all this to automate everything. So you're pressing buttons and you have stuff done for you. You don't have to, do it all manually, like pulling reports, like training your team, like sending out, social media and newsletters and drip campaigns on educating your patients. This is all done while you're sleeping.
I love this. So now I know what you should really be doing with your hygienist.
Thank you. I'm glad we cleaned that up because now I can sleep tonight knowing that I named it for the right reasons. So, it's the same thing. Just like I said, hope or despair, is it selling or is it educating? It is, that's the proper. It's really honoring and respecting and elevating our hygiene team so that they can go out and make the difference for everybody.
I love that. And I can't wait for chapter 5 when I get to find out why your team hates you. So.
Oh yeah. Ooh, and I learned that one the hard way. So, everything in this book we apply to our own company. So I know it works without a shadow of a doubt. And it's been refined over many, many years. So I'm super excited. Thanks so much. And I can't wait to see all the listeners' feedback on this chapter.
Sounds great. Thank you, Gary. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to $1 Million Dentistry with Gary Cady. This podcast is brought to you by Next Level Practice. Next Level Practice is the leader in dental practice management. In fact, they're the best in the world at creating happy teams that implement sustainable results. If you would like a copy of $1 Million Dentistry, please contact Amber Keithley at Next Level Practice. You may call us at 212-388-1712, extension 119, or go to nextlevelpractice.com/podcast and request a copy in our Ask a Question box. We look forward to brightening your smile.